All right, so you want to get the full fucking lowdown on Dale Jennings, right? This guy's career is a goddamn roller coaster.
Yeah.
We're talking small town team to Bayern fucking Munich. Yeah, you heard right, and then back down again. What the hell happened? We're gonna break it all down for you.
This isn't just some bullshit football story. This is about the pressure cooker of pro sports, the wrecked careers built on busted bodies, and what happens when life throws you a curveball bigger than a red card, you know?
Okay, so rewind to the beginning. Jennings started at the Liverpool Youth Academy, got the boot ouch,
Yeah.
ended up at Tranmere Rovers, smaller team.
League One. Basically the boonies of English football.
But that's where things got interesting.
Right.
Broke out season at Tranmere was wild, man. Scoring goals, setting them up left and right, basically lighting up the field.
So scouts are circling like vultures, and then bam, Bayern Munich comes knocking.
Fucking A, man.
Imagine going from playing in front of a few thousand fans to training with superstars like Ribery and Robin. Talk about a culture shock.
Totally different planet. Yeah, that's like going from karaoke night at a dive bar to headlining Coachella. So what was his time at Bayern actually like? Did he become a superstar?
Hold your horses. Superstar is a stretch. He mostly played for their reserve team.
Okay.
Bayern Munich, the second in the Regionalliga.
Which is?
Decent level, but nowhere near the Champions League spotlight.
Right.
And then, boom, he tears up his knee. Multiple ligaments. That kind of injury can end a career, especially when you're trying to break into one of the most competitive teams in the world.
Damn, so the injury screwed him over.
Played a role, for sure. He was sidelined for months. By the time he recovered, the first team was out of reach. Bayern Munich is a machine, man. They don't have time to wait for injured players to catch up.
So what happened next? Did he crawl back to England with his tail between his legs?
Pretty much. Signed with Barnsley in 2013, hoping for a fresh start. His debut was... well, let's just say it was memorable for all the wrong reasons.
Wow.
5 minutes in, he gets a straight red card for a reckless tackle. Talk about pressure. The guy's just come from Bayern Munich. Everyone's expecting him to be the next big thing, and he gets sent off before he can even break a sweat.
That's brutal. Can you imagine the weight of that Bayern transfer hanging over him? People probably expected him to magically transform Barnsley into a Premier League contender overnight.
Exactly. That kind of pressure can crush a player, man, especially a young one.
So did he at least manage to redeem himself at Barnsley?
To some extent, yeah. Started scoring goals, showed flashes of the talent that got him noticed in the first place. But it never quite clicked the way it did at Tranmere. Spent a couple of seasons with Barnsley before bouncing around, had a short stint with Milton Keynes' Dons. But by 2016, he was out of professional football altogether.
Wait, so he just quit. What the hell happened?
Here's where things get interesting. It wasn't just about the football. In 2017, his daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. Suddenly, football seemed pretty insignificant.
Damn, that puts things into perspective.
Absolutely. Life can change in an instant.
So what happened to Jennings after he left the pro game? Did he just disappear?
Not exactly. In 2018, he made a comeback. But miles away from the bright lights and big stadiums, signed with Runcorn Town, non-league club.
Runcorn Town. It's a long way from Bayern Munich.
You could say that. Shows how much he loved the game, willing to come back and play at that level, especially after everything he'd been through.
Okay, let's pause here for a second. Before we go any further with Jennings' journey, I want to circle back to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole experience. What do you think it was actually like for him, being this young kid from a small town suddenly thrown into this high-pressure, world-class environment?
Imagine being plucked from obscurity and dropped into a pressure cooker, where every move you make is analyzed, every pass scrutinized, and every mistake magnified. The weight of those expectations, the constant competition, the sheer intensity of training and matches, it's a completely different world.
Yeah, it must have been insane.
It was a whirlwind for sure. And don't forget the cultural differences, right? He was a young lad from Liverpool, suddenly living in Munich, trying to learn the lingo, new customs, a whole new way of life. Couldn't have been easy.
No shit. Signing a big contract is one thing, but actually thriving in that kind of environment, that's a whole other ballgame.
Exactly. And then you throw in the injury. It's not surprising things didn't work out the way he hoped.
So back to Runcorn Town.
Mm.
Was he actually any good?
Yeah.
Or was it just some washed-up pro reliving his glory days against amateur players?
Nah, he was genuinely good. Scoring goals for fun, helped the team win games. You could tell he still had that natural talent, even if he wasn't playing at the same level.
It's kind of cool. He found his way back to the game on his own terms, right? Away from the pressure, the scrutiny, the whole circus of professional football.
It is, man. It shows his character. He didn't just give up on the sport entirely. He clearly loves football. And playing for Runcorn Town, it let him rediscover that joy, without all the baggage that comes with playing at a higher level.
So what does this all mean for Dale Jennings? Where does he go from here?
Well, he bounced around a bit since Runcorn Town, played for Prestatyn Town in Wales, then back to Runcorn, then Ramsbottom United, and last I heard he was with Prescott Cables.
So still playing, but definitely not making headlines anymore.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. His story, it's a reminder that there's more to life than chasing the spotlight. Sometimes the most fulfilling experiences are the ones that happen away from the crowds, the cameras, and the pressure to perform.
Yeah, especially when you face something as serious as your child's illness. Makes you realize what really matters.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we can all learn from Dale Jennings' journey. It's a reminder that success isn't always a straight line, that setbacks are part of the process, and sometimes the most important victories happen off the field.
Well said. Okay, so we've covered Jennings' early days, the Bayern Munich roller coaster, the return to England, and his exit from professional football. We talked about the pressure, the injuries, and the personal challenges he's faced. But there's one thing we haven't really touched on yet. What's the legacy of Dale Jennings? What do people remember him for?
That's a great question. I think his legacy has a few layers to it. On the one hand, he'll always be that guy who made that crazy jump from Tranmere to Bayern Munich, a story that shows anything is possible, even in the cutthroat world of professional football.
It's like a real-life fairy tale, even if it didn't have the typical fairy tale ending.
Exactly. But beyond the headlines and the transfer fees, there's a deeper message in his story. A message about resilience, perspective, and the importance of finding fulfillment beyond fame and fortune. He could have easily walked away from football after everything he went through, but he didn't. He found his way back to the game on his own terms, and that speaks volumes about his character.
It also says a lot about the power of football itself, right? It's more than just a game. It's a community, a passion, a way of life.
Absolutely. And for Dale Jennings, it seems like football has been a constant throughout his life. A source of both joy and challenge. A way to express himself and connect with others.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think his time at Bayern Munich, despite the challenges, ultimately had a positive impact on his life?
That's a tough one to answer definitively. It was undoubtedly a period of immense pressure and upheaval, but it also exposed him to a level of professionalism and dedication that few players ever experience. Forced him to grow up fast, adapt to new cultures, and push his limits both physically and mentally.
So you're saying it was like a trial by fire?
In a way, yeah. And while it might not have gone exactly as planned, it shaped him as a person and a player, gave him a unique perspective on the game and on life itself.
That's a great point. It's not just about the trophies and the awards, it's about the journey, the lessons learned, and the personal growth that comes with facing adversity.
Exactly. And in that sense, I think Dale Jennings' story is one that resonates far beyond professional football. It's a story that reminds us that success is often messy, that setbacks are inevitable, and that sometimes the greatest triumphs are the ones we achieve when facing our biggest challenges. Makes you think, doesn't it? Where would he be now if that injury never happened?
Who knows, man? Maybe a Bayern Munich legend, maybe a complete flameout. We'll never know.
That's life, right? Unpredictable. The twists and turns are what make it interesting.
And even though Jennings' career didn't exactly go to plan, it's still a hell of a story. It's about resilience, perspective, and chasing your passions no matter what.
He could have walked away from football after all that shit, but he didn't. He found his way back on his own terms, and that's pretty fucking inspiring if you ask me.
All right, folks, there you have it. The wild ride of Dale Jennings. From the insane highs of Bayern Munich to the grind of non-league football, his story shows us that there's more than one way to succeed, and sometimes the biggest victories happen off the field.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all the time we've got for today's deep dive. We'll catch you on the flip side.